So for these guys, again, so these are really basic, just discussing the relationship of the locations, not doing any of the algebraic part. If this is on your final and in the future, it's really the algebraic part that matters, or where they would be more asked to test you and where you would run into more issues. As far as just the locations, probably not as many kind of quiz test questions of that nature. So you can see it, this is a 90-degree angle. Lots of reasons, and the way you get to an answer does not have to be the same way that I get to the answer. It's just as long as you get to the same answer. So because that's 90, we know that this is also 90 because this is a straight line, and straight lines are supplementary, or linear pairs would be a good word for those. So a linear pair, they make a straight line, and you can work all the way around. So that means this is 90 and this is 90. So you could pick any of these angles to get down here. Probably the easiest pair as far as rules is that consecutive angles, so this one and this one, are going to be congruent. And that's as if you took a pair of scissors and you cut it down the center and you put this center on this center, this guy is going to line up with this one. So, or even you could have gotten that 90 because they're vertical angles. So this is definitely going to be 90 degrees because that upper left was also 90 degrees. And again, you could use vertical angles, you can use consecutive angles, you can use alternate interior, and then linear pair. So that one's pretty vague, but just know that it's 90. Again, so 84, if I was to cut it in half here and lay them on top of each other, 84 is going to end up right here. And then because that's 84, the question mark in 84 are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. So that means our question mark is also 84 because of vertical angles. If it asked you why, you would say vertical. Number 3. Oh, sorry, I moved way too far. Getting too excited. I got more screen than I thought. So these are alternate interior. There we go. Interior. And the alternate part is relative to your transversal. And when I speak of transversal, that's the line that's cutting through the two parallel lines. So it's going to alternate along the transversal and then be on the interior of the two parallel lines. And so speaking to the parallel lines, so that means it's going to be on the inside of these two lines. So only in here. So alternate interiors are congruent. So this is also going to be 89 degrees. Alternate interior. Number 4, exactly the same, just in the opposite pairs. So they alternate along your diagonal transversal here, and they're on the inside of your parallel lines. So this is also 68 degrees, again, because of alternate interior angles. So alternate interior are congruent. So alternate interiors are congruent. Number 5, again, still staying pretty basic, where we're just looking at their locations. If we cut it in half, again, and then I pick this up and I put it right here, those are going to be consecutive, and consecutive are also congruent. If you have one of them, you have all of them. It's just sort of like a puzzle where you can spin around, because this would also be a vertical angle. This would be a vertical angle of that one. Then you would have your linear pair. You can go this way or the other way. But 180 minus 104 would give us our other one. So that'd be 76. So we know this one's 76. This is also 76 for vertical angles or linear pair down the side. And then again, so consecutive would be 76. Maybe vertical angles, again, 76. So if you have one angle measure with a set of parallel lines, and you know they are parallel because it states so, and you have a transversal, you can solve all 8 angles that are related to the parallel lines in that one transversal. So 90 degrees, alternate interior would probably be the fastest, if you remember that one. For that guy, for your reason why that one would also be 90. Otherwise, you could work to a vertical angle is 90, and then these two would be consecutive. I'm sorry, corresponding. I'm using the wrong word. Sorry, corresponding. So corresponding angles. I was doing math 3 a minute ago. We were doing quadrilaterals. So sorry, consecutive was for that. Corresponding. So the one, when you pick it up and sit it on top, they're in corresponding locations. So super basic as far as that's concerned. Alternate exterior is the other one that they didn't do in these. This one could be an alternate exterior. So alternating along your transversal, but being on the outside. So alternate exterior also congruent, just like alternate interior. The only ones that are supplementary would be your linear pair, and then consecutive. Yep. So that would be like this one and this one would be 180. Sorry, just making sure I'm getting them all right in my brain and not missing anything. So number 7, same idea. So alternate interior, and you should know that alternate interior are congruent. So then we could solve by setting them equal to each other. Minus 8, not plus, minus 8. Then solve it like a normal equation. Get your x's on one side, your whole numbers on the other. I like working towards the positive x. Minus 8 to get x by itself. So get negative 5 equals x. As I've said before, if x is part of an equation and we're doing measurements, don't necessarily panic over the negative part, because sometimes it's just a thing. Though something's wrong because you can't have a negative angle. Hold on one second. Let's see. And 8 times a negative 5. Or did they just give us a bad problem? Oh. Yeah, I messed up. Definitely messed up. It's not negative 5. I'm trying to make this a plus. Desperately trying to make that a plus. So that's a minus 8. So we're going to add 8 to both sides. So it's x is 11. Yeah. Yes. Good job, Ava. Sorry. I have a hard time watching both screens. X is 11. Yep. But the idea, I guess, the newness to this would be alternate interior and knowing that they're congruent. Number 8, consecutive. So they're on the inside, so consecutive. So they're both on the same side. That's why they're considered consecutive. They're inside the parallel lines. So those are going to be supplementary. So don't set them equal to each other. Add them together and set them equal to 180. So x plus 94 plus 95 equals 180. 94 and 95 is going to give us 189. Which seems weird because it's bigger than 180. But you know how math be doing. So x equals negative 9. Just fine. As long as it gives us a positive angle measure when we're done. And you don't make a mistake like me. Or if you do, you at least catch it. So 85 plus 95 does indeed give us 180. So if we wanted to know this angle, this angle would be 85. Because with an x is a negative 9. And also because 95 from 180 gives us 85 here. Another alternate interior. Those are going to be congruent. So 12x minus 4 equals 11x plus 3. You subtract the 11x again because I like to work towards the positive. Make sure you're paying attention to your positive negatives. You guys are probably better than I am at that rate. X should equal 7. So 11 times 7 is 77, which should give us 80. And then 12 times 7. So it's usually worth it to check. Is also 80, so we're good there. So we know that that one is right because they both, when plugged in, give us 80 out. And again, back to that conversation. So if this is 80, we know this is 100. As long as this is 80, then you also know this is 80 because of maybe vertical or corresponding linear pair. So we can work all the way around all 8 angles as long as you have one good numeric answer for one of them. Again, these are consecutive. So they're consecutive. They're on the same side. So not alternating. And they're interior, consecutive interior. So you're going to set those equal to 180. So 14x minus 10 plus 4x plus 10 equals 180. Clean up on one side before I would recommend start moving too much. These two cancel each other out. So 18x equals 180. That's times. So we're going to divide by 18. And x is going to equal 10. So then that means later they might ask us for this angle. They'll have like, I don't know, maybe A, B, C, and they'll put other letters out here so they can ask you lots of fun questions. But like, what is the angle A, B, C equal to would be another good style question. And so 10 times 4 is 40, plus 10 is 50. So we know this one should be 50. Ideally, that means this should be 130. So 14 times 10 is 140, minus 10 should be 130. So that works out as well. And again, you can go back and answer lots of them. Sometimes they'll even put like a letter there and ask what is FBK with this information, still knowing this is a vertical angle to that location. So because that one's 50, that one is also 50. So they really are free range at asking for the value of any of the angles. Again, if you can solve, if they give you enough to be able to solve for X or know one numeric value. Number 10, these are corresponding. I think for most of this, it's just the memorization of the vocabulary. And even the vocabulary is not a deal breaker if you don't remember it, as long as you know their relationship. Obviously, ideal, you know all the words and all the relationships. But as long as you know the values, you usually can get through more of the math. Vocabulary will not be the end of the world. So 60, these are corresponding, so they're going to be the same because, again, I could pick it up here, cut it in half, and sit it on top, and they're going to fall right on top of each other. So that's going to be 11x plus 5 equals 60. If I subtract 5 from both sides, 11x equals 55. Divide by 11 because 11x is multiplication, and x is going to be 5. And so that means we know 11 times 5 is 55 plus 5, which is indeed 60. So we did it right because these questions are asking what x is. So that would be what you would want to check. Number 12, corresponding again. So just set them equal to each other. Beautiful. Just a different. They're actually exactly the same. Just a different set of numbers. 15x minus 5. And that's why I kind of said it really is just memorizing the location and which ones are congruent and which ones are supplementary. Those are your two choices, congruent or supplementary, so equal to 180. And then you should be able to solve most all the problems. So if I subtract 13, add 5, so 2x equals 18, divide by 2, x equals 9. You can check it, so 13 times 9 plus 13 is going to be 130. 15 times 9 minus 5 gives us 130 as well. So that means our x is 9 is perfect, is correct. So number 13, again, is corresponding. They're just in a different location. And that just means that when I pick this up, this angle is going to fall on top of that one. This one here, and this is sort of what your drag and drop from today was to do, was to put the relationship of each angle on kind of on its home and watch them line up. And then this one would be this one if you pick them up. Solve for x and plug it back in. We've been doing a bunch of those, so we'll skip that one. 14 is a different relationship, so alternate because it goes on either side of the transversal, but it's exterior. So alternate exterior, they're also congruent. And if corresponding makes more sense to you, you could say, well, I know this is 80 because of vertical, because you've been doing vertical angles, I believe, since like middle school, at least a little bit. So then these two are congruent. So 9x plus 8 equals 80. So back to the alternate exterior would be your ideal shortest trip there and knowing just to set it up and get going. But if you walk a little further or do a little extra math, that's okay. So that's going to give me 72. Divide by 9. It's going to be 8. So x equals 8. And I'm off the screen, sorry. X equals 8. So 9 times 8 plus 8 is indeed 80. So we did our math right. At least giving it our best go to make sure we did our math right. 15. Again, these are consecutive. And sometimes those consecutive interior, it just depends on the teacher, the website, the video, those sort of change. That one set changes names, depending. Changes is probably not. They have multiple ways of referring to that set, that relationship. So -7 plus 11x plus 110 is equal to 180. And again, that's supplementary, and supplementary just means the sum is equal to 180. So when I add them together, they're equal to 180. So 11x plus 103 if I clean up that side, minus 103 from 180. Oops, that's not right. 11x equals 77. Divide by 11 because that's the inverse of multiplication, and x is going to equal 7. 11 times 7 is going to be 77. Minus 7 gives me 70. 70 plus 110 does indeed give me 180. So we know that one's good. This again is corresponding because that angle is going to fall right on top. So that means they are congruent. One we haven't done as many is alternate interior. This website likes the corresponding, quite obviously. So alternate interior, those again are congruent. So it's going to be 18x plus 4 is equal to 130. Subtract 4. 18x equals 126. Divide both sides by 18. X equals 7. So 18 times 7 plus 4 does indeed give you 130. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. You guys are actually pretty fast, usually faster than me at the computation part because I talk a lot. So these are consecutive again, consecutive interior. Consecutive interior are supplementary. And just to be repetitive, consecutive interior supplementary, and that means their sum equals 180. So when I add them together, it equals 180. So x plus 71 plus x plus 129 equals 180. You can clean up before if you wanted and just write 2x plus 200 equals 180. Minus 200 from both sides. 2x is going to equal negative 20. And that should give us a negative 10 when we're done. And we divide by that too. Hopefully I'm right. Even I question myself when I get negatives. So negative 10 plus 71 is going to give us 61. And then negative 10 plus 129 will give us 119, which with 61 does give us 180. So that negative 10 is correct. Whenever you question it, just plug it in and solve it and check it as you did back in 8th grade math or even in math 1 prior to now. Another consecutive interior pair. So x plus 65 plus 120 equals 180. That does not look like a 20, sorry. So that's going to be x equals 185. Oh, x plus 185 equals 180. Subtract 185. X equals a negative 5, which is correct because 120 plus 60 would give me 180, so I needed to get rid of that 5 that's on that 65. And that is going to be your answer for that one.